So the time is 2:45. The date is 18th of August 2025. We're at the Tower Hamlets Libraries and Archives. My name is Sadi Ahmed, and I'm here to interview.
I'm Farooq Murad. I was born on the 14th of May, 1961.
Thank you, Farooq. Could you tell me a little bit about where you were born and where you were raised?
So I was born in Pakistan, in Karachi, and I was raised, interestingly, first part of my life in what is now Bangladesh, in East Pakistan at that time. So formative years were there, and then back in Pakistan, then also spent a few years in the Middle East, Iran, Saudi Arabia, then came to the UK when I was just turned 16.
Okay. And can you tell me why you had so much travel in your early years?
Oh, it's to do with my father's job, really. So
Can you tell me a
wherever he
little
went,
bit?
he took us, obviously. So he worked as a consultant civil engineer. So there were projects to be done in these different parts of the world where his company got projects. So we traveled with him, which was very interesting, and played a major role in our development and perspectives.
And how about your mother?
So my mother's been very much a homemaker. We were altogether six children, and I was the middle one. Yeah.
So you were 16 when you came to the UK, and did you continue your education here?
Yes, so I had to get on with getting my GCSEs and A-levels, and did a degree in engineering and management from the University of Loughborough.
And where did you move to when you came to the UK?
So we came to the city of Leicester. I'm still there, so must be something good.
Was there any particular reason that you came to Leicester?
Yes, again, my father joined the institution, the institute called the Islamic Foundation, and he was an author. He also shifted in his career, as I did later on, to do more interesting things. So that's how we're in Leicester.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and early influences? Like, that kind of shaped your outlook in your life from teachers or family members?
Yeah, so my grandparents actually migrated from India to Pakistan at the time of partition or independence, which recently we've all been made aware of, 14th and 15th of August. So back in 1940, late 47, I would say, early 48, the whole family in large numbers moved from middle part of India to the state of Bhopal, which was very famous state run by Muslim lady rulers. Begums of Bhopal is well known. So my mother is actually descendant of Begum of Bhopal, therefore also descendant of great scholar Nawab Siddiq Hasan Khan, who was my great-great-grandfather. So that influence on the family, obviously, but I think then they were all basically got into education in Pakistan, building their family life and everything, a new country, new place. So they were kind of immigrants. So we have been eternally immigrants, not just into the UK. I mean, migration is something that our family has gone through. And then my father decided to go and work in East Pakistan, then which became Bangladesh. That was another transformative decision for us, because we were brought up in East Pakistan, language, Bengali culture, that had an impact upon us as well. And then there was another big migration when the war broke, and that part of the country was not cessation of East Pakistan, should I say, or into Bangladesh. So we again had to migrate back to our Pakistan, and then 5 years there. So all of these migrations played a part, and going to Saudi Arabia, performing Hajj at an early age of 15. And during Hajj also, I was part of that Hajj pilgrimage in 1975, and the Great Fire broke in Mina. So that was very close to us, and we saw the destruction of huge fire. And I remember very vividly many memories of hundreds of pilgrims died. And then a year later, we were in the UK, you know. So I think the migrations, family starting life from scratch a number of times, rebuilding, it gave us perspective, what you can do if you commit yourself to building something.
And do you think that influenced you moving into the charity sector?
Partially, yes, but I think that was more to do with understanding that faith isn't just about performing certain rituals and a relationship with your creator, your God, but it's also about how you carry out that commitment in terms of your relationship with people around you, with society, what difference you make in terms of what goodness can you bring, how you deal with injustices, inequalities. So all that was very much essential part of living Islam, which is how we understood our faith, or how I was taught my faith, or how I discovered reading the text and the history, that it is like all great faiths, not just Islam. It's not just about a ritualistic relationship, which is very important in building your spiritual foundations and your prayer during the night or reading of the Quran. But then if it doesn't move you to deal with what you understand to be wrong around you, or as it were, find God amongst people who don't have shelter and who are ill and who are deprived of basic necessities of life. And there's famous hadith which always inspired me of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where he says that, God would say, I was hungry and did not feed me, after reminding what he gave us. And we would ask, how could you, the owner of all this universe, be hungry? He said, such and such of my creation was hungry and you did not feed them. So all of those, and again, it's not just about giving charity. That's another very important aspect of Islam. The word Quran uses yahuddu, not feed the hungry, but they did not encourage others to feed the hungry. So encouraging also brings you into the arena of social action. It's not just, I just drop a few pounds and then my responsibility ends, but creating the culture of help, support. And that's how, in developed countries you have institutions, building into institutions of social services, social welfare, care. Is all actually very much living with your faith.
Thank you. So now moving on to your time at Muslim Aid, how and when did you first become involved with Muslim Aid?
Right, so I knew quite a few of the founders, and I think the unique thing about Muslim Aid, as opposed to many other charities which have surfaced over the last 40, 50 years, is this is very much a collective initiative of the leadership of Muslim community. I remember Muslim Aid was formed by a group of very leading figures from the community, a growing, evolving community, but almost anybody who was somebody was there, mobilized by Yusuf Islam and Imam of Regent Park Mosque. At that time, director was Sheikh Darsh. So Muslim Aid already is from 84, and the other one was Islamic Relief, are the two new charities which had, I think after 84 was Band-Aid, and the famine in Africa was very much the motivation, where Muslims felt, or we felt, that we also have a responsibility and duty to mobilize the sadaqah and the zakat and the funds to do something. So Muslim Aid was very much an organization which was formed by many of those people I had actually come across, being aware of through connection with other community organizations, as part of Young Muslims and Islamic Society of Britain, various other initiatives we were involved with in terms of education. So I think they invited me. I was very fortunate. It was an honor. In 98, I would say. That's good 14 years after so I missed the founding years, but we were still a very small charity when I joined in 98 as a trustee.
And So you came in as a trustee, and then how did your role
I
develop?
just thrown into deep end from the very beginning, because I remember first board of trustees meeting, I was perhaps the youngest trustee, but they elected me to be the secretary of the board, which meant I had to come to London every week to look at all the administrative and other issues within the office. And then next they gave me the treasurer position, and then followed that with the chairman's position. So I became chair in 2004.
And what did that entail? What did your role as chairman mean?
As all charities, governance is very much your key task and responsibility, but this organization was run by volunteers anyway, so we were hands-on as well, which included overseeing fundraising, creating partnership in areas where we had to work, look at our field offices, performance, recruitment of the staff, looking at your documents for governorship, charity commission matters. So all of those were on our plate, yes.
And were there any individuals in the UK or globally that you believe were really foundational to Muslim Aid's progression?
Yes, I think all the founding trustees, when I joined, I think Sir Iqbal Sikrani was the chair, I think, or our Sheikh Suhaib Hassan had just finished his term that year. So I was very much served on, and he was a very inspirational, great figure in terms of his business knowledge, community knowledge, connections. So he played a major role. I think prior to that, I think Yusuf Islam, formerly Cat Stephen, was still part of the board of trustees. So that was also quite inspirational. In terms of UK, many of the key scholars were present in the board of trustees. So we were, and they all played their role. Remember who we used to call Abdus Salam, like Uncle Abdus Salam. He was a very senior figure of the community from the Bangladeshi community. So he was also there, and globally, we had some very interesting people in field office. We didn't have that many field offices, but I remember Bangladesh, Sudan, they were the active field offices at the time. We're still a very small charity, by the way. When I joined, it was just over a £1 million turnover charity with few projects.
So what was your vision for Muslim Aid when you became chairman?
Serving humanity, I think main thing was to develop capacity, expertise, mobilize community support, create a good, excellent team. So these were very much what we always aspire to do. And that's why I worked on it as chairman. I was very pleased that, many of those initiatives paid off in terms of having a good functioning field offices, rather than just working through partners. By that, I think around that time we were banking on local partners, but we kept a good balance, field offices as well as partners, to deliver things where we didn't have to duplicate, reinvent the wheel. We decided to use partners, but where we felt we could do a better job by having our own control, and because we had responsibilities to the donor as well as to the regulator. So in some places it was better that we actually had more control than just passing funds to partners and banking on few reports.
So during your time at Muslim Aid, I believe that it was under your chairmanship that you opened a 10th overseas office in Cambodia. So how did that come about and why?
Yes, so I'm not sure how it came about, but why is very easy, because we were looking at places where we could make a difference, and I suppose there was need in Cambodia to operate. We were also working with a number of international agencies at the time, which is something else we started during my tenureship, which was to partner with UMCOR, which is a Methodist, major United States Methodist charity, which is a major project. I think Cambodia was very much a partnership project where UMCOR might have been involved. I can't now, it's going many, many years ago. But DFID, we're working Department for International Development, UNHCR, and also European humanitarian agencies. And I think some of these ideas came through discussions with them. For example, they had some funding to do something in Cambodia, and we had already some partners in that community, Muslim and non-Muslim. It wasn't just working with Muslim community in Cambodia. So it was where we could find synergies with other agencies. So some of these offices open as a result of that, some as a result of, for example, I'm not sure whether Cambodia was affected by tsunami. I can't recall exactly. Many countries were in the region. And you know, when I became chair, I remember 6 months later, I was traveling back after having opened a clinic in Bangladesh and having my first field office visit to Bangladesh. And I took a flight, and when I stopped in the Middle East, on the plane, I read the news that there was a tsunami somewhere off the Indonesian coast in the Pacific, Indian Ocean. And I thought it was small. When I arrived back in the country, I just realized how huge, perhaps the biggest humanitarian natural disaster that happened in our lifetime. And that meant we had to, and many of the countries affected where we had field offices, and of course we did fundraising, and a lot of people generously donated to help. So I think that was also another reason why we might have opened office in Cambodia, that we had the money now available to open office in Indonesia and Aceh and Cambodia and so on. Sri Lanka as well, I remember, because Sri Lanka was affected quite a lot by the tsunami. So we had the resources to deliver.
And how were you able to measure the impact of the development programs that you led?
Well, again, with impact, it's always very important that charities measure impact, and it's always our major issue and concern. So we would look at what we set out to do and what are we delivering for the money that we are utilizing, what difference. So there will be key performance indicators, there will be key targets, there will be regular contact report, building of the capacity. I think around that time that we realized that we had to upskill our country offices, their systems, their processes, we had to look at, and started major training programs and retreats. I remember 2008, we got all the country office key leadership into the UK. We had a good 1 week long program. We got experts to speak to them, people who had much far more experience from not just Muslim charities, but other charities as well. So all of this was to make them more aware that, you know, at the end, it is very important. It's an amana, a trust that we have, and we have to deliver to the best of our abilities.
And how did you balance the international humanitarian work with accountability and trust within the Muslim community in Britain?
Again, that's a key issue because, of course, the community in Britain. You mean the balance between community in Britain and overseas? So, as you know, with charities, your funds are mostly restricted funds. So if people have given you money to spend there's a crisis in Turkey, for example, and all the money that comes under that heading has to be spent in Turkey. So it so happens that it's been our key interest that we do not neglect and forget the needs of the Muslim community in Britain. And we tried, I remember going back, we tried to actually launch projects to do in Britain, youth capacity building and other mosque capacity building, and also poverty within our community, because after all, 40% plus Muslim community lives in some of the most deprived wards in the UK. So why not just join hands to help with that money to spend on ourselves? And there have been many legal juristic rulings that have been coming and people more aware that, like zakat should be spent in the locality where it's collected and so on. But our hands are tied down with the wishes of the donors. So if donors say spend this money in Pakistan, there's been an earthquake, then that money has to go there. So our ability to help our community was somewhat restricted as a result. But the IS chairman was very keen to see that grow. So I remember we said, what about gift aid funds that we receive? So gift aid is something that we get from the taxpayers' money that comes from the government into our pot. So that's not kind of restricted, it can go into general fund. So we expanded the ability to do more in the UK and also launch campaigns for UK. But it so happens we didn't get kind of response we wished for our projects in the UK. But I believe it's been growing since then.
So can you describe a particularly complex or difficult decision that you had faced while you were at Muslim Aid?
That's an interesting one. Decisions to partnership, decisions for changing of your staff at the highest level, always complex, and decisions to open new field offices, all fraught with challenges and so on. I think I remember there was a major earthquake in Turkey back in 1999 in Adapazarı near the Black Sea region. Major earthquake which caused a lot of death and destruction. So we raised, by our standard, good amount of money. And there was this issue whether we should spread this money thinly, and which was our culture, and give to a lot of local partners to do whatever little projects they are coming up with applications. I think I remember it took a number of meetings to come to a decision to actually use a large amount of that money in partnership with one charity in Turkey to build good 60, 70 good homes, which was not our culture, but something lasting, something, again, you talked about impact, will transform lives of many families left homeless at the time. So that comes to my mind, and it was very much appreciated. To this day, I think some relationships we built were very useful and helpful.
How were these relationships and partnerships sustained? Or was it very organic that you have partnerships for?
Yes, somewhat. They are organic. You do your research, you have your references, you see what's happening on the ground, you make your visits, then you build that partnership, you test it out, and then based on that you expand and grow these relationships. But I think it's very important you have all the stakeholders on board in charity sector, whatever you decide to do. Your donors, you have to manage expectations as well. It's very, very important. And you work on intelligence data. You actually try to also at the same time build the capacity of the people who are trying to deliver in new areas. It's not just it's a learning curve.
And how did your leadership in other organisations shape your approach at Muslim Aid?
My relationship with other organisations.
Well, your roles in other organisations such as the MCB and the Islamic Society of Britain.
Yes, okay. So some of these came later, very much, but since I was part of some of the community organisations, I think that I hope that helped in terms of engaging more of the organizations into the work of Muslim Aid. So that was beneficial and useful. Being part of those organizations, I think, gave us connections that we needed. I remember in terms of staffing, because we knew of people in the community who have delivered in mosques, in projects, we were able to attract them to the organization. I think that knowledge was useful.
Thinking in terms of the social and political context of your work, how did major events such as 9/11 or the Iraq War or growing Islamophobia in the UK affect Muslim Aid's work, but also the public perception of your work?
So, well, I mean, Rushdie was well before 1988, obviously. So in my time, my engagement with Muslim Aid as a trustee level, I would say, overseas conflicts always, there were 2 or 3 attacks. There was the war in Gaza, there was Lebanon, there was the Sudanese crisis. So they, and the Iraq war, obviously. So they do obviously, tensions are heightened, and also at the same time expectations that charity like Muslim Aid should be doing more, but quite often we are quite limited in what we can do in such conflicting, or Afghanistan for that matter. So we try to remain close to our charitable objectives and make sure that message is clear that we're not here to solve political problems. We are humanitarian aid relief organizations, and our options were see what are your best options. So I think community also learned over the years that, even though organizations like Muslim Aid, Islamic Relief, seen as national major charities at the time, others have come up since, obviously, but we were the key organizations. So they would be doing maybe more, but we made that very clear as to what our role was in the situation, which is purely the humanitarian side of those major conflicts, where we try to limit ourselves, obviously, correctly so, and try to help in that situation.
And under your tenure, did Muslim Aid engage with the British Muslim communities, especially the youth and the younger generations? Did they have new programs for them?
I think youth played a major role in the development of Muslim Aid. Young people, especially, I remember during our major campaigns in Ramadan, Qurbani, we used to get out the offices to create space for volunteers. So most of the volunteering, fundraising initiatives and drives were done by young people. And I think also at the staff level, I think we brought a lot of young people who had opportunities to learn and grow within the organization. We sent them abroad. We widened their horizons, understanding of humanitarian work, relief work, and I'm pleased that many of them went on to higher responsibilities and made good careers within the relief sector and development sector as well, and moved on to other organizations. Not just, we had a staff who went on to work for like Oxfam or maybe DFID and Red Cross. So that was good that we got more young people developed and engaged.
And was it the policy to reflect the diversity of the Muslim community within recruitment and the volunteer group within the Muslim Aid family, if you like, in terms of ethnicity, linguistically, nationality?
Definitely. I think we are a very diverse workforce staffing. First, we worked in many regions of the world, and some of the staff came from those very different countries. But within the UK, our office also, of course, our office was very much in central London, so East London rather. So there might have been more people from this area working within the office because of the cost of living and transportation, but and not so much from other parts of the UK. There was pressure we should open office in the Midlands and the North, but we, for various reasons, never managed to do that. Other charities have, or opening shops. There was once a plan. But Muslim Aid had a strong donor base, which was developed in the 80s, 90s, before your live appeal and television channels and all the other modern social media scene. That's when we were operating. So at that time, it was very much mail shots, very much mosque networks. So we worked through them, and we had good, strong donor base of 40, 50,000 donors who would support Muslim Aid. So at that time, that was our main connection with the community. But I think from mid-2000, we have grown Muslim Aid through, as other charities, with modern means of fundraising and connecting with the community.
And how has Muslim Aid ensured financial transparency and ethical standards?
I think being a major charity, we had to have everything obviously audited, and we were a lot of regulatory framework within which we worked, so that itself ensured that we played by them and lived by them. So we always tried to recruit good staff in those departments where they could actually make sure that we do not, we are not in any way short in terms of delivering on that framework. So yes, accounts, everything was audited. We made sure that we tried to be as professional an organization as possible.
And were there times that Muslim Aid faced unfair criticism or accusations under the time that you
I think
were
going
chairman?
back, you would find that there were 2 or 3 occasions where some articles which obviously we kind of conflicting areas that we, conflict zones we work in, it was highlighted that some of those partners were perhaps not to be engaged with because of various policies of countries or UK being on the other side of the conflict, perhaps, than some of the community organizations we are working with. So, I mean, they were dealt with, and I think we always responded robustly, and where we had to correct ourselves, we did that.
And what do you consider your greatest achievement while you were chairman at Muslim Aid?
I think we, from just donor, as I said, our main strength was our donors, and I think we were very good for the first organization to really master the art of mail shots and raising funds through mail shots. But I think we diversified both in terms of field offices, in terms of our capacity to deliver, and create a specialization, and grew from £2 million charity within 10 years to touching 40 million, working with international agencies. These, I think, were, I would say, looking back, that we brought Muslim out of just the community to more of an international player, working with international partners.
And who were the CEOs around the time that you were at the
So
charity?
when I joined, when I was chair, or during my term as trustee?
Throughout the term,
yes,
so
we
when you
had
started.
initially Mahmoud Hassan, who was very good in, I would say, one of the key architects of our fundraising drives at the time. And he was replaced by Ibrahim Sir, who served a few years. And again, he built the strong foundations of the organization and especially partnerships in different parts of the world he was good at, because he had long experience of working in the Islamic Council of Europe. And that was followed by Saif Ahmad. That was also quite revolutionary in terms of he really diversified the organization, brought a lot of young talent, young people, and he was good in building people and new field offices. And that was also the time when we needed someone like that, because he joined, 2005 was a very big year for us, because 2005 was both the tsunami, and then another major disaster was Pakistan earthquake, if you recall, October. So like 26th of December was 2005 was a tsunami. 9 months later was Pakistan earthquake. So suddenly we had to step up to be able to deliver and meet the demands and the expectations. The team really multiplied and grew the organization considerably. So that's when Saif Ahmad was there, and then I think that's it really. I think when I finished my term, it was safe, was still the CEO, I believe.
And what do you think Muslim Aid's legacy is in the British Muslim community?
I think we were the trailblazer in the sense that, what is, it's not just Muslim Aid what we've achieved, but also number of other charities which have this whole idea of mobilizing action, social action, both in the UK as well as abroad. I think we were the ones who set the tone, and many others have come and added new perspectives and new ways of doing things and specialization as well. So this was the pioneers, Muslim Aid, Islamic Relief in this area.
So are you familiar with Muslim Aid's sort of current direction, and what are your hopes for the future for Muslim Aid?
So I think all charities, Muslim Aid as well as others, they have new challenges all the time, but I think apart from growing inequalities and injustice around the world, also our own community, I think, needs a lot of help. So I hope that we can, my real hope would be that we build the specialization and capacity and try to excel in certain areas rather than remain very thinly spread charity, doing a little bit here, a little bit there. So that would be the way to move forward now, because so many are in the arena now, in the field. So you have to have your strengths. You have to work on your strengths.
What advice would you offer the current and future leaders at Muslim Aid?
I suppose I just touched on that, but I would say drawing on faith is key dimension of charities like Muslim Aid. That it is our faith duties that we are fulfilling here. So while it's called voluntary work, and what we do is a voluntary organization as it were, but from faith perspective is obligatory work. It is what we call in Arabic fard. So this is fulfilling a major fard, a major duty. So that's a message that I don't think is going strongly enough into the community. By driving that message, we'll get a lot more support, a lot more engagement with the community. So this charity is seen as it is a voluntary organization, of course, voluntary sector or third sector, but from faith perspective, it's an obligatory sector. Zakat is the second, third pillar of our faith. And its mobilization and its proper distribution and its utilization is all for the kifaya, duty upon the community. So, and that I think is the message which a lot of young generation is not getting. So work on that first to build that foundation, to get that energy, and then divert that energy to well-researched interventions. Intervention should be well-researched. What intervention? We are not a state, we are not government, we cannot be. We are, at the end, a third sector development organization. So where we can be effective is very important. For example, dealing with emergencies is good, we must. But one figure I came across a long time ago, every pound that you spend on development saves 14 pounds on emergency. So recently we had the flood in Pakistan 2 days ago, killed 300 people. So many of these huge loss of life in developing world is lack of development. So we are eternally trying to deal with emergencies. So somehow we need to divert more attention to development. And there we can join hands with many major players. And that would, I think, long run, would be the best role Muslim Aid can play.
Looking back at your time at Muslim Aid, is there anything that you wish that you could change or do differently, or would have liked to have done?
Very
A lot.
tough questions. Changed or done differently. No, I thoroughly enjoyed my time. It was challenging time, but that's how you learn. Differently, I would have thought, I think we remained somewhat London-centric organization. As I said, this idea came a few times. We should have more, go to the heart of Muslim communities across the country. That's something which was there on the table, but I think if we could and should have done, that would have been a major, not game changer, but would have brought a lot more footing into the community and more engagement with the young people, Again, work more with the mosques network. It's a very rich network around the country, but I'm not sure whether we are engaging or engage enough with that network. I would just say these couple of things would have been something when I look back.
Yeah. What have been your key sort of takeaways for yourself? What did you learn most about this sector and your leadership skills?
Yes. So it's a journey, ongoing journey. So I've not kind of left Muslim Aid. I'm not. Muslim Aid is a mission, and is a passion and a mission in life, and it's an ongoing journey. So we go to different organizations, but since then I've been part of some other smaller charitable endowments and institution. I'm part of Islamic Foundation, again doing more educational work, publishing work, and also part of we were able to develop a major higher education institution in Pakistan, which is now at least 5,000 students study without paying fee on bursaries. So we've used some of that knowledge to create major institutions, and I think this is the way to go, really. Institutions that can make difference in society in the long run and can be sustainable. Sustainability is another key issue here. So no point just more income generation projects, employment generation projects, rather than just giving money to the poor. We need to empower the people. We need to not just give bread, but also ask why people are not getting bread, as it were. It can be challenging at times because that brings you into more political arenas at times. But I think there is room for advocacy and utilizing more resources into advocacy, rather than dealing with the problem, but also dealing with the causes of the problem.
Okay, thank you.